So many things on television. All the tricks. That's a good idea,
This morning I planned on, going with you, but I am so tired of bouncing off my walls. I've got to feel free.
I'm not going to say no to it, but I feel this is so much nicer than these chairs.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. Thank you so much, everyone here. My name is Carolyn Lundberg, Mayor Lundberg here presiding, here for this council meeting on June 3rd, 5:15 p.m. here in the Lindon City Chambers. We'd like to welcome you all here who are present as well as those online. For this regular session tonight, we are first going to have a invocation by Lincoln Jacobs, our council member here tonight, and then for Pledge of Allegiance. I usually try to tag someone in the audience. Would one of our rodeo attendants or queens like to give the pledge? I see 3 nods. Jane? Okay, our queen. Fantastic. You'll just come up here at that point after the prayer and face the flag, and you know the drill. Okay, we'll go to that point. Thank you.
Our dear Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening, Father, grateful for this opportunity we have to meet as a city council with our city staff and residents and those being recognized this evening. Father, we're so grateful for the many wonderful and amazing programs that our staff puts together for our city. We're so grateful for those who get involved and who participate. As always, Father, we're very grateful for our first responders, Father, for those who help keep us safe, for those who are there when we are in some of our most deepest needs. We pray thy Spirit would be upon us, Father, as we make decisions and discuss those things which are relevant to our city, that thy hand would be in our discussions, that thy promptings and inspiration would help us to make the decisions that would help us as a community continue to move forward united. For these blessings we give thee thanks and offer this prayer to thee in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Jana. Thank you. All right, we're going to start off first with our roll call here, and I'll start on my right.
Van Broderick present.
Cole Hooley present.
Carolyn Lundberg present.
Lincoln Jacobs present.
Stewart present.
All right, and we'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Hoyt is absent tonight, but we have our quorum, so we'll keep proceeding. All right, item number 2, this is presentations and announcements. So we will first begin. We have some special visitors here. We have a new rodeo royalty, and we'll go ahead and have Shawnee Rasmussen, who is a fantastic resident and volunteer, homegrown girl who now runs this whole program. So come on up, Shawnee, and we'll let you take it away and introduce our new queen and her attendants.
I'll let them introduce themselves, but just a little bit about the program. We had our Rodeo Queen pageant about a month ago, and that's where these girls were crowned. We had 9 amazing contestants, which is an awesome number for a Rodeo Queen pageant to have. So we're super excited to see them help promote the sport of rodeo and the Western way of life, and we're super grateful for all that the city does to support our program, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Why don't you all just come up together?
And could you use the microphone, please?
You can go ahead and pick that
Yeah.
up.
Okay, let's start with Jaina. So she's our second attendant.
Also, we brought cookies for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, hello, I'm Jaina. I'm from Lehigh, Utah, and I'm 13 years old. I can't wait to see all of you guys at all the Lindon Days events, and I'm especially excited for the rodeo, as you could probably guess. Thank you.
I'm Carly Nilsson. I am a resident here in Lindon, and I will be a junior at PG High School next year. And thank you guys for this wonderful arena, because I'm down there at least once a week, if not more. And it is amazing what you guys have done. So thank you guys so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Tanner. I'm 15 years old from Highland City, and I currently I will be going to American Fork. The thing I think I'm most excited for this year is the Cowgirl Clinic, because I love sharing my love of horses with people, especially younger children. I just wanted to say that we are so grateful, and I think I speak for everyone when I just want to say that we're so grateful for all the prizes and money you guys have donated to the rodeo, and like our belt buckles and our sashes and the saddle. I love it, and I use it like every day, seriously. So I just wanted to say thank you guys. And yeah, we
You
got
are
your
so
cookies.
welcome.
Thank
Can we
you.
go ahead and get a picture with our council here tonight with you? We'll have you come on over here. This is kind of our spot where we can all fit. Thank you.
Quick, 1, 2, 3. Carolyn was just sneaking back behind there, so. One more.
Congratulations.
We're so excited.
So these young ladies, as she mentioned, there were 9 contestants. I had an opportunity to stop by, and it is a tough job. This is no easy thing. So just to compete, they had to do modeling, they had to do a speech, they had to have impromptu questions about different horsemanship, things that I have no clue. They were not easy questions. And then they had to also go to the arena and demonstrate significant horsemanship there as well. And so they're amazing. They really are representing the city now for the rest of this year. And we're really grateful to Shawnee and her dad, Floyd. You made a beautiful carving for the arena, did you not? I heard? Yeah, it's amazing. So this is a really special year with our centennial year. So we're so proud of you and grateful for you to represent us. So thank you. All right. And you're welcome to stay as long as you like. We have some pretty exciting things on the agenda. We're talking about future plans for the cemetery. All right. No, but you're so welcome to head out anytime you like, and thank you. We're going to see you a lot during Lindon Days especially, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, for our next, here we have one more really special introduction tonight. So Lindon City had a new position filled recently. Our assistant community development department, assistant planner, no, sorry, let me get, not assistant planner. I have to get the title right. This is our planner, okay? Full-fledged planner, different pay grade. All right, and in the community development department. So Britton Corbett, Michael, would you like to introduce him? He's gonna now be our new planner.
So I just wanted to introduce our new planner. We've had a long search for a planner for Lindon, and we're grateful that Britton has decided to come to work for us. He's been here this year 3rd week now, so he comes with some experience. Just got his bachelor's degree from University of Utah in public administration and has worked for UTA and Eagle Mountain. So we're grateful he's here. Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, yeah, like Michael said, I'm Britton Corbett. I'm the new full-fledged planner in Lindon City, and I've been working in the local government area for about 3 years throughout my time going through college, and I'm really grateful to be able to be working now full-time and being able to make some considerable change and improvements within Lindon City as a planner. So look forward to working with you all.
It's an exciting time. We still have some neat projects and growth happening, and we're grateful to have your talent. And I know just Mike had to wade through a lot of good folks to get the best. We're small, but we like to have the best. So welcome aboard. All right, and then moving forward, are there any other announcements here from council? Okay. We'll move now to item number 3. This is our open session for public comment. So anyone that would like to come address the council who is not currently anything that's not on the agenda tonight, come forward. Love for you to state your name. You'll be in the record officially. Whatever you're comfortable with. Yep.
Sit down
great.
and you can have a cookie. Maybe.
I don't know, we haven't opened it yet.
I don't want to be the first one. Here.
Thank you.
So I'm Dave Schallenberger. I live just on the Orem side of the Lindon border. I wanted to come introduce myself, though. I am running for our House District 58 for our state legislature. That's Kevin Stratton's old seat. He is going to be moving over to the Senate. He's replacing Kurt Bramble. And so we have an open race, and I wanted to come introduce myself. Ballots go out in 2 days. So, and I'm excited about getting to know you guys a lot better. I've heard great things about, you've been here now 2 years, maybe? It's a couple, year and a half, 2 years? I don't know.
That's the quiz, right?
It's no longer new mayor, the official Mayor Lundberg, and I've heard great things about you guys. I've been going around talking to a lot of people, and as your hopefully new representative, I'm excited to partner with you guys and help represent Lindon, the people of Lindon, the City Council of Lindon, and be a great partner with you guys. So, and whoever handles codes, and whether it's the police captain or the chief, everywhere I have a sign, I've talked to the people. Not just throwing up signs wherever. I've knocking on a lot of doors. I call it the lawn dart game with a lot of these where they're just So anyway, want to be respectful of the people that run the city, and so
Thank you.
just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for being here and everything you do. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Right.
Nice
Well,
to meet you.
It's a tough road, running a campaign and all the competition. We're all kind of equal trauma survivors.
I almost forgot about this. I've been out knocking on doors, putting up signs, and I was just wearing regular clothes. Good thing I set an alarm on my phone. So I was like, oh, city council meeting. Ran home, got dressed up, overdressed, obviously. So now I'm back out to put up more signs and more talk to people. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. Anyone else wanting to come up during the open session? All right, seeing none, we'll move to item number 4. This is our council reports. And Steve, you look ready to kick us off?
Thank you, Mayor. I always try to throw the eye there when I'm ready to go first. Would like to thank everybody who was involved in the Memorial Day program this past Memorial Day on Monday, the 27th. It was a wonderful event. It seems to get bigger every year, and the quality of the event and the activities that happened there is incredible. Specifically, I want to thank Corporal Jacob Simmons. He did a great job in organizing that, and appreciate Chief and others who were there, and the way the department was involved, and all those who spoke and everything else. Specifically, though, I want to talk about Youth Council, who was there. That's my responsibility, and we had many of our new Youth Council there. We have 18 new members, and they represented themselves in our city very well. It was exciting to see the youth. They were mentioned several times by those who spoke, including Mayor Lundberg, how they are the future of our city and our communities and our nation. And if that's the case, we are in very good hands. They're exceptional young people. Also, just wanted to mention that those who are seniors, and I understand that's 60 plus, we have a lot of, and I'm one of them, I guess I can be going to all the activities. But there are wonderful activities that have been planned by our senior center, Jamie Jensen and others who make those plans. There are daily lunches and so many activities. But there is upcoming a senior activity. It's a family summer party, Monday, June 17th at 5 p.m. Would really like to encourage anybody who has a senior, who is a senior, would like to come. It's only $5, and it's at Pioneer Park, and there'll be fire breathers and hula dancers and lots of good food. So encourage attendance at that. And finally, the PG Lindon Chamber of Commerce, they hold a service project about every few months in the two cities, and this last time was at Discovery Park in Pleasant Grove, and this next time in September, it's our turn. And so I'd like to, anybody who's here who would have some ideas about where in the city we could have a service project, whether it's in a park or whatever activity for about an hour and a half, we get members of the chamber who come and participate in that service project. So I'd like to, plant that seed, and if anybody has an idea of where in the city and we could do that, I'd really appreciate some input on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
What was the time on that senior event?
5
in
o'clock.
2 weeks, 5?
Yeah.
June 17th, I wrote it down.
I didn't have the time. It happens to be the same time as this meeting.
All right, you ready?
How about that?
I am. Memorial Day program, echo what Steve just said. That was a great program. And Steve, to you and the Lindon Youth Council, I love seeing them there. I love seeing them in what they do to help and participate. It's definitely one of the most important things that we can do as a council is to work with our youth and prepare them for wherever they are going to serve someday. I love seeing them out there. I am officially no longer a non-pool person. I've been there. I have done it. Well, I didn't do the flow rider. I think I still have to learn something on that.
Have to land on your face first, like I did.
I'm sure.
We'll come watch. There's an employee party coming up, Flow Rider.
Yeah. Yes, I can see that. But I went through, Alan walked through with me on one of the elementary school days before it opened. It was just so fun to hear the squeals from the kids as they were playing out there. I gained a much deeper appreciation for that pool, what goes on there. Mm-hmm. And then I did go back on opening day to find out that it was closed because it was raining. So I went back on Memorial Day and was able to actually go there with my son-in-law, my daughter, and my 2 granddaughters, and they fell in love. I'm sure we'll be frequenting there a lot during this summer. I also saw something on the news with Mayor and Heath relative to the pool. That was cool. It just flew by, so I didn't get to see everything, but that looked really cool. Pickleball, Hollow Park. I worked with Heath to take down some of the center dividers. I only got a couple of them down. I'm working on getting the other 2 down, but I've had a lot of people compliment and say thanks for opening that up. They really, really want to see that one waiting area because people will camp out in those quadrants and never share amongst those that are waiting, but I can work with Heath on that as we go forward. Planning Commission, welcome Britton. I've had the chance to meet with him, I think, briefly every single week that he's been here, and he seems to still have the same excitement and attitude, so that's really good. Associate Planner was the title that I had on from Mike. In our Planning Commission meeting, we had a lengthy discussion on neighborhood markets. And that will come up in a future city council meeting. The family that's kind of working towards this initiative that's kind of behind this one as we're discussing it, they were looking for some more specific code, but Mike worded it super well. All buildings shall meet building code requirements. They really wanted some specificity about, well, what about bathrooms and this, that, and the other, and I think that what Mike has in there is really good, and then our staff can work out those details as they move forward through their permits of business and building or whatever else they have going on. But that'll be coming up soon. North Point Solid Waste, we had a minor accident this last week. One of the loaders on the C&D, I think that's construction and demolition pad, tipped over, but no injuries. Everything was good. So
that's all that I have.
All right, thank you so much. Cole.
All right. The CTC and Healthy Utah have an upcoming meeting. They've submitted a grant renewal, hoping to have that go through so they can continue the excellent programming they have. The Centennial Celebration, the next event is this week, the 5th, so Wednesday from 1 to 3 at Friar Park. And it's the big summer kickoff. Foam cannons, face painting, shaved ice, dunk tank, a huge event for all. There'll also be the time capsule there, a photo booth, and a watermelon bust. So hopefully everyone can come to that. The Historical Commission's continuing and putting sort of the final touches on their activity for July and talking about upgrades to the museum. And Tree Board still, thank you for those who submitted names, Lincoln in particular for submitting names to help fill vacancies there, and to continue encouraging people to plant trees or tree-like shrubs and report that to help us towards our goal. That's all I've got.
Do we get to count the trees they plant at the temple location?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They've got a lot of them
gonna be
there on
awesome.
site and
Past 1,000.
and going. Also, I too would compliment our Memorial Day service, very well done. And again, the comments from citizens afterwards are very favorable, so I'm glad we do that, and it's great. Appreciate our police department kind of heading that up. In Public Works, it's nice to see black. We'll use that term to see a lot of asphalt going in some places where we've had the roads torn up for quite a bit. And I will express appreciation to our citizens for their patience and maybe a little bit of continued patience as we continue on that. So 400 North has been paved and 835 East. Some of this going on out here on 200 East is still occurring. Any update you want to give, Juan, or?
We're just finishing to Main and 60, and then they're gonna be back next week to finish Main Street, 200 South, and the cul-de-sac that we have left on the 630 North. From 630 North, like this 450 East, and then 725 North, which is a long time coming on that road. Just in time to get started on Center Street.
Yep. That's it.
All right, thank you so much. Just wanted to acknowledge during Police Week, we had the police dinner with Chief Brower put that together. It was amazing. Just so grateful for our police department and all the good men in there that protect us and serve, and the new ones that have come on board this year. And we had one of our own speak at the memorial program. So Jared Johnson, Army vet, so he did a great job. And then just wanted to give a shout out really quick to the Lindon Walmart when I asked them for donations for that event. Just like that, they were great, providing those for the refreshments for the community. And then also this last week we had Brazilian Grill come and bring by free lunch for all the PD and all the employees. And so I guess they had someone call in a catering order and they went to deliver and they got stood up. Oh. So anyway, they've catered a couple things for the city. They great little business. I went in there to thank them and posted it on social media. So just hoping they can get some support in the community for that, because they did a great job.
I'll call in another order in about 2 weeks.
Anyway, yeah, just a family that runs that, so small business. And thanks for mentioning the Centennial Party this Wednesday at Friar Park. That is one of the most fun events in the community for the kiddos. So, and free snow cones, everything's free. It's great. So we'll be doing our time capsule for the Centennial. Steve, I needed to loop you in. Meals on Wheels wants to meet with us. I'll get you that appointment time this week to loop that in. But they are looking for more volunteers. As you know, the Meals on Wheels program depends on volunteers to come deliver the meals to people in our community who are homebound and elderly. And so they're looking for more adult driver volunteers to help with that. So, All right, well, thank you. And then Fox 13 News came out and featured the pool, and we had our little Miss Lindon there that morning doing different segments with their guys. They were pretty fun. He did try to do the lily pads. I bet him he could only get to like 2 or 3. He said he could do more. He only got 2 or 3. Anyway, but yeah, I didn't get to see how that turned out. So fun to hear that. So anyway, the pool's in gear, and hopefully we can keep everything running well. Just appreciate all the staff and what they do, and all the cogs of the wheel make the community great. So we appreciate you all. All right, we'll move on to the administrator's report. Something that Adam's gonna talk about with you all is, from time to time, you all probably get occasional inquiries into why does Lindon not have a library. So as you know, council in the past has decided, to build a library would cost tens of millions, require significant bonding, but then also the ongoing operations and maintenance of a library. If you just look at the budgeting that, say, American Fork does, or Orem, or Provo, it is significant. We're talking millions of dollars. So just to keep them up and going and staffed. So here in Lindon, we've had a really great reimbursement program that council has agreed to. I think we're at 70.
We're at 28,000 for, you're asking percentage?
Per household. So a household can.
It's 50? No, it's 75% of the cost of an Orem card.
Of an Orem card, 75%. So a lot of people, when I've talked to them in the community, said, well, there's digital, media that they want for a library. There's different city libraries that are their favorite. So we just do that reimbursement of 75% of picking the card of their choice. But in past years, we also had, the county runs a bookmobile, which really is meant to service some of the rural communities potentially who are too far, from a neighboring city with a significant library. And so one of the things that Salt Lake County does is they have a county-wide reciprocal library system that I've heard about. I don't know all the details about it, but what people love up there is they can visit all the different city libraries, and it's one system. Where here in our county, it's very segmented. So Adam and I've reached out to the county commissioners from time to time to see if that's something we could kind of get some momentum or learn about for our county gradually, but it's not here yet. So Adam reached out to their administrator, and he has some information on it. There was a resident in Anderson Farms who asked about specifically the bookmobile, which we did have in the past, but we haven't recently. So he's going to share some of that info with you.
Yeah, let me just give you a few data points, and then as I've looked at this, Mayor, this came up just late today, this afternoon. The county's asking for an answer, and so since we are looking at the budget, in the budget hearing, it may actually be the best spot for us to actually make a decision on this, whether or not we want to move forward. But let me at least give you some numbers right now and be thinking about that here for the next few minutes. So on the bookmobile, they have quoted us this coming fiscal year, if we wanted one stop, it would be $4,900. For 2 stops, it would be $7,400. In 2015, 16, and 17, we received the bookmobile services without a charge. And in 2017, the county said, hey, if you want this to continue, it was going to be $14,818. And so we met as a council and decided not to continue that service for that dollar amount. At that time, we had 20 card holders for the bookmobile. And so just throwing out some numbers, I know that's really fast.
When you say one stop, one visit for
one
regular stop?
This is one stop, and I think that was per week.
You
Does
choose
that
a
sound
certain
correct?
location. You choose a fixed location for the
But
bookmobile
weekly
to
at
come.
one location.
That's what I recall. I'm going to have to look through my notes.
I remember,
And
I think it
so
was here at the city center.
It was over at the community
Yeah.
center parking lot, and then down at Fieldstone. And so we had those 2 stops for those 3 years.
So just to put that in perspective, so again, 4,900 for one stop, 7,400 for two stops. Right now, we budget for this coming fiscal year, and the budget that we're reviewing tonight is $28,000 for library card reimbursements. Kristen caught my eye here, and that's what's in there. Is that correct, Kristen? Okay. You gave me a look like, no, that's not right. But Chris.
Sorry, my eyes are bothering me.
Oh, Kristen.
Sorry.
Kristen reminded me here a minute ago that on that 75% reimbursement, it's 75% of Orem's cost is the maximum we'll provide. And so PG's library card is less, and so we give 75% of their, is that how that works? 75% of their card. But, based on that, 28,000, if we were to spend that full amount, with approximately 3,200 households, that would be about 8.8% of households getting a library card reimbursement. And so, just as an FYI.
So is that the amount that we typically spend, close to that?
It's been going up every year.
Okay.
And so it's been in the 15, 17, 20, low 20s and moving up.
So people are certainly taking
Yeah.
advantage of it.
I'm looking
Eight-
here like
eight-
Provo and Orem.
8 to 9% of your
Yeah.
households in Lindon.
Provo and Orem, I believe, have a reciprocal program where you can use either one of their libraries. But I don't know if a non-resident can. I think that, I'm not sure they honor that for non-resident. I should have made a call today to confirm, but heard different things. But their fee is $120 for 1 year of library year. So that means we would be reimbursing $90, 75%. Do the math.
I can't do
Quick math question. Okay. Anyway, so that's the top.
Yeah, so in fiscal year, in fiscal year 23, a year ago, the full complete year, we had about 283 households requested library cards, and so the reimbursement. But, so I'm gonna just drop all those numbers, and then when we review our budget, we'll bring that back up, because then you can actually make a decision on this instead of just a discussion. So,
Do we have any sense for how many? Never mind. I'm not even gonna ask my question. It's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, great. Any
we'll
additional?
bring that up later in
Yeah.
the meeting. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
That's all you have? Okay, wonderful. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6. This is the approval of the minutes from our council meeting, 2 council meetings, May 7th and May 20th. So council, if you've had a minute to review and let Brittany know if there's any additions or changes in there.
I have no changes.
Neither do I.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the city council minutes of May 7th, 2024, and May 20th, 2024.
I second that.
By Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Okay, we will now have our cemetery expansion concept plans. This is a presentation. Oh, sorry, item 8, thank you, good catch. This is a review and action for a road right-of-way purchase. And we'll have our Community Development Director, Mike Florence, go ahead and present.
Okay, thank you. So this evening, we are asking for approval from the City Council to purchase this small parcel that goes north and south. It's 0.12 of an acre. And the purpose of it is it's a parcel that we need to be able to connect 1550 West and 1800 West. Nicholas Foods recently purchased the property highlighted there for a truck transfer station, so they will bring in semis, transfer the food, and then move it out to restaurants and other locations. And so they're going to be putting in 20th South, doing most of the improvements there. There'll be a few exceptions, but for the most part, they'll be putting in most of the street improvements. So we've been working with the Crane Company on the north, Coons Craft here, this triangle piece, and Nicholas Foods to get the proper dedication, which will be bringing forward with a plat approval. So what's missing is, as last year we were notified that this little strip in blue came available on a tax sale. We were notified by Nicholas Foods real estate agent, and it was on a short notice, and so we made some commitments that we would work with them on trying to purchase that. So the price is approximately $5,170.20. That covers the purchase price and last year's taxes from the real estate agent. There could be some additional small amount if there's a prorated property tax on it this year. So we're asking for council's approval to purchase that property, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. It's a strange little parcel, but you know, it'd be better that we purchase it rather than if it went back to a tax sale that then we get held up on that. So this road is part of our general plan, transportation master plan that would connect the two streets.
So when you said the part in blue, are you talking about that blue line that goes all the way from the top to the bottom?
Yeah. And we only need this little bit, but the real estate agent had to buy everything. And so, at
So
some point, we could try and
plant some corn?
Plant some corn, see if the other property owners want to buy it from us or something, the little bits, but.
So once we own this, it would be likely that we would then carve out just the road parcel and then bring this back to you as declaring this additional strips as surplus, where we could approach these neighboring owners and try to dispose of it.
I'm just wondering, is that wide enough for a pickleball court?
I think it's only
Just
about
kidding.
5 feet or
Just
5 to 7 feet wide.
One track mind.
All right, well, good. These are always good things. Corridor preservation is pretty important to do. Want to say kudos to staff to catching this, and it costs a lot cheaper now than it would cost in the future. So, money well spent to preserve and have it ready to go, and we can have the surplus also as an offset in the future.
I want to echo what the mayor said. As I've talked with other people who have come through, they just always compliment the Lindon City staff for being so fast. I don't know how this would have been with another city, but once again, I'm grateful that you acted quickly and we can take advantage of this opportunity.
All right, any further questions? Okay.
I move to approve the purchase property as presented and authorize the mayor to execute all closing documents on behalf of the city.
I second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Stewart. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Make it so. All right, now we're on to item number 9. This is the cemetery expansion concept plans. And I'd like to invite Alex and our consultant, Dan, come on up. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we have some conceptual plans, looking to get some feedback from the council on here.
Yeah, just to give a little introduction, Dan's with EDA land planning, and the city had budgeted in this current fiscal year to hire a consultant to help us look at phase 2 or maybe phase 3 or 4, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And so Dan's met with our public works staff, and Alex and a few of you on the council have been in our engineering coordination meetings and have seen some of this. And so we'll let Dan run through these site plans. That was based off of some of the feedback in those prior committee meetings, essentially. So go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Am I close enough to that? I don't know how close I need to be. Sounds like it's picking me up. Okay, so we did have a few meetings, and we worked out concept for the master plan, which is on the screen. And what we did was we tried to lay out the roads so that it somewhat matched the existing roadway in the cemetery. And then also, one of the connections is out to 600 North. And we aligned that with the neighborhood street across the way so that the intersections would work with each other instead of compete with each other. The roadway, some of the reasons behind the roadway design is to also help increase the number of burials that you can get within the cemetery. So if you put in more roadway, we get less burials. And the other thing with the roadway, it doesn't exactly match, but it kind of plays along with the curved corners of the existing cemetery. When we tried laying it out more like what the existing is, it really didn't flow very well, and I think you would end up with a lot of congestion and loss of burial space with that. So when we continued on with the master plan, we also came up with areas for cremation gardens. So the main cremation garden we put within the center island as a play or a balance against the Veterans Memorial that's in there. So it kind of work with each other within the cemetery. And then we have a few black dashed lines which indicate future cremation gardens. So we could have 2 more areas. That would help. So the first additional cremation garden could be right across the street from the initial cremation garden, and then possibly another cremation garden down in the southwest corner. Beyond that, way down the road, thinking many years down the road, we could do columbarium along the property line between the church and the cemetery, and then also around the future well site.
So Dan, explain what columbarium are. Fancy word. We may not all in the room know what those are.
New vocabulary here.
And he pulls up the pictures just in time. So a columbarium, so this is a curved columbarium that we did at another cemetery, and then this is a circular columbarium. So these are both community-style columbariums, so multiple people from the community can be put into the columbarium. So an individual or a family might buy a niche or 2 niches. Typically, 2 urns can go in 1 niche. So that's just one of the little doors on there is the niche. So that is what we could put down the property line. The thought behind the property line columbarium is that we would have columns between or at the ends of them, similar to this, but then we put a trellis on top of that to overhang the walkway that would be in front. We can get vines to grow up on top, kind of help become a green screen between the cemetery and the church property and the well site. Let's jump back, because I don't want to go into the cremation garden product just yet. I was tempted to. So, any questions on the master plan itself?
So the city would begin by selling the pink area, and then based on how time evolves and people's preferences evolve, we would then look at the green area down the road. But we could at least we could start with just the pink area. Is that thinking?
We are looking for your feedback to see whether do we do all of this at once or do we take it down in phases. Clearly, some of that's financial. But we'll talk more about that. So we're looking for general direction, no motions or anything tonight, but just thoughts on how to proceed.
Now, one of the other things that we discussed was, the property right now is sublet for agricultural use. And that person said, Juan, if I stand corrected, they would continue to potentially grow some crops if this was done in a 1 and a 2 phase.
Correct, that's what the farmer expressed to me the last time we talked.
How does that impact his irrigation?
So he irrigates everything through pressurized irrigation. So what we would do is just move the feed line closer to the west, and he can do those.
So we could do pink and then do eventually green.
One question about the master plan. With the proposed road that connects to 600 North, I was thinking if an outcome is to maximize burial spots, is there a compelling reason to have that road there and not just have the one going on whatever
200 East.
Yeah, just having the circle.
Circulation is a huge problem in cemeteries when you only have one
Mhm.
entrance and exit. So when you, like Memorial Day, if you got people in there, you have a heck of a time getting them back out.
Yeah, I was going to ask because Memorial Day is certainly the time when there's the most traffic, and I just wondered from your experience between just on a regular day if there's a flow issue, if it's like tolerate a bad flow for one day a year and get I don't know how many more spots we could get versus I don't know what the trade-off is, I guess. Is there even a number of how many burial spots we would gain if we didn't have the road going on to 600 North? I don't know how to count the little rectangles.
I did not do that calculation.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That was just a question I had.
But during services, if you have a
Funeral.
that is fairly large,
That'd be another
the
flow.
congestion happens as well.
Just kind of scouting, it looks like somewhere
So-
between 16 to 20 with, you know, if you
Give or
count
take.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
So I guess if you zoomed in really close,
Yeah.
you'll see a block, and there's a block of 12 spaces.
Of those blocks, yeah.
So each number is a space.
Oh, okay. Great.
So,
Oh, yeah,
1,
there's a
2,
lot.
3, 4.
But you're looking at 16 to 20 traditional. What I mean to say is, the world around us is becoming more earth-friendly. Right, wrong, it really doesn't matter. But there's a generation that as they move forward, Van wasn't able to attend this first meeting, and that was the first time I heard the word columbarium, right? And the whole cremation thing. And I was really quiet for a long time as I was thinking about it. And Adam said, Lincoln, do you have some thoughts or some comments, right? But we're seeing this more and more. Orem and Provo both are adding these. So you're looking at 16 to 20 traditional. If society moves to a cremation perspective, then it's a different number.
Yeah.
I love the wait and see because I think we get that cremation area there at that one point, and we just kind of see the way society and people's trends are.
And then the other question I had is how tall in with the phase, the cremation garden, is there wisdom about just go higher instead of wider? You know, we're like, we'll go on the outline and we'll go like just add another floor, add another,
Add another level.
Yeah, like is there wisdom about how high is wise? Obviously, there's some limits, but
People need to be able to reach.
yeah,
Don't
is
put
that
the
it to
flowers-
reach it?
put
Is
the
it
flowers in front of the
okay?
niche.
Because there was like one in Orem, not the Orem City one. It's like a private one by Timpanogos High School past or something. Like theirs is pretty.
wall.
It's like tall. It's like a center building that's kind of tall, and I was like, oh. Anyway, I just didn't know if there was wisdom
Is
with.
that the one that's owned by Berg? I think it's Berg.
It's a private one,
Yeah.
Fourth
Something memorial. I'll Google it. But
East, and yeah, it's a small little.
Mausoleum that might have niches on it as well.
yes.
So the mausoleums typically will go 5, 6, maybe 7 crypts high,
yeah.
which that's full body.
Okay.
And then using unused space on it, they'll put niches going up the side,
Okay.
and they can get up, you're up to 16 feet high, and
Yeah.
you're looking way up to
It
to
seemed
see
like I
'em.
was like, oh wow.
But we're not looking at any mausoleum
We weren't
proposal
looking at
here.
any mausoleum
Yeah.
on this. So typically, we would, on niches, we're probably 4, 5, maybe 6 niches tall.
Okay.
So if we go to, let's go to the cremation garden. Okay. So again, on the cremation garden, we'd want to phase this in as well. So again, the pink area in the middle would be the phase 1. Phase 2 is the green. Phase 3 is the light green, and then I don't know what color that really is. Purple? Lilac, there you go. Would be phase 4. And that's just our idea of how you could break this down. Doesn't have to be the exact phasing. But what we tried to do was in phase 1, get most of the product. We actually have all but one of the products in phase 1. So we have the community columbarium, which is the curved.
Do you have some of the pictures of the gardens that you showed us examples
I think
to show?
You have those, right?
You've got a few on here.
There were some other really beautiful garden walkways and things that you showed in the engineering meeting.
Are those the pictures that Alex has
Okay.
given you?
It's in the P drive.
It is the one by Berg. That, yeah.
Okay.
Timpanogos Memorial Gardens.
Yeah. So this garden right here is up at Wasatch Lawn off of Highland Drive in Salt Lake. So when we designed this, this was the phase 1 area. So where'd the button go? These are granite tablets. And then right behind it, these are companion post markers. So these two products, the urns actually get direct buried under the granite tablet and right behind the post. So like you can see the little, they use bronze plaques as their memorialization. The other type is you could etch in the granite. So you have multiple ways of memorializing on the granite. These on either side of the walk are cord companion post markers and cord individual post markers. So the urns actually go inside of the product. So you pick up the granite, the urn goes in, it gets sealed up and then put back down in the ground, and then they can memorialize on it. Right at the focal point right there, that's a cremation pedestal, and 4 urns can go inside of that. So right where the sculpture top is, that can come off. There's 2 core holes that you can drop 2 urns into each core hole, and then put the top back on. And then you can memorialize on the face of the granite. And some of them memorialize on all 4 faces. They've got a lot to say. So I think these guys just did the front face, if I'm remembering right. But you can see how the garden can come together, all of the different products that are in there. So there's a bench on the right-hand side, and urns go inside of the bench. So right where it says Rigby, that portion comes off, and then the pedestal portion that's holding the seat has 4 core holes in it that the urns drop into, and then the seat can go back on. And then they can memorialize all over I've seen it all over the bench. So I've seen it on top, the face, the pedestal. Most do just like this, where it's just on the face of the bench seat and then on the face of the pedestal. Are there other
What I
pictures?
love about these pictures, I want them to be shown, is this just creates such an environment, an inviting, contemplative solace, the trees, the meandering pathways. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
It'd be
It's fun doing it, designing it. We lucked out with this garden because there were already all these existing trees there. And so we just selectively removed trees to create the walkways and the pathways going through. So we've done 3 phases on this garden since 2015. Wow. So 2015 was the first phase, and then it's just kept going ever since. And
How many niches are being proposed in just phase one as available to sell?
It was 333.
Okay.
So 333 sales units within phase one. And that's not all the inurnments that you can get, but that's just the sales units. So a sales unit would be if you sold that cremation pedestal, that's one sale, but you have 4 inurnments that can go into it.
Okay.
So that's how that would work. But giving you a variety of products, I think is a very good thing right off the bat in a cremation garden. That way you can see what the neighborhood likes. So whether they like cord products or the niches or pedestals, then in your next phase you say, okay, these really didn't sell very well, these sold really well. You can manipulate the product that goes into the second phase, the third phase, as
I was
as things
traveling
change.
this last couple weeks. I saw entire cemeteries in Arizona that were pet cemeteries. Tell me what you know about that. David.
I didn't see it.
Pet cemeteries.
Are they always completely separate from the human cemeteries? Because some people, pets are their family now, really.
It depends on the state regulations. I have never, I think Utah has a separation clause in their regulations, so they can still be in the same cemetery, but it has to be a separate section of the cemetery for pets, and then the humans on the other side of the road.
So you can't put cremated remains into urn. You said there are 2 urn niches.
I'm sure it happens. People will slip them in with the owner of the pet. So
Okay.
if they're not being, if the owner was being full body interred, the pet urns end up inside their casket every once in a while. So
We're talking about what matters to people and the personalization, and
yeah.
I mean, that may be something to consider down the road. So, okay.
Yeah.
So Dan, what you had explained before in a prior meeting, in each of these phases of the cremains garden, we would essentially be front purchasing, uploading
Oh, yes, correct.
the monuments, and so that people come and see, oh, this is what I want to buy, this is where I want to put this urn. And so as you look at these cost estimates, those are estimates for the monuments purchased in each of those phases. So did that make sense?
Actually, flick through a couple of these pictures. There was in the third phase, that's where it just barely got done. Yeah.
Down here?
We were just on it. That's in the right-hand one.
Oh.
Well, that one is
Well,
too.
there's some that are blank.
That one as well. So this was their third phase of their cremation garden. So nothing has been, at this point, nothing had been sold in the garden. But they have all of the product there ready to go, so they don't have to wait for a monument to come in. You're up and running right off the bat.
So that provides consistency in the look as well, does it not?
Exactly.
So I mean, if you go to a conventional cemetery, you see any number of types of stones and.
You get, yeah, exactly. They don't, when you order them, if you ordered from different vendors, they might vary just a little in size. Even though you give them the dimensions, they still might vary a little bit. The colors, you might end up with black red, green, blue, different colored granites going down the walk, and it starts to look like a hodgepodge then.
So would we have a vendor come etch onto these or add a plate? How are they personalized?
That's up to each of the families, is it not?
Well, it can be up to you guys too.
Oh.
So if your preference is, okay, we just want etching,
Oh.
you just say, we hire the monument company to come in and etch it. Or you can say, okay, we like the look of bronze. We have to order the bronze, and so you have to get the bronze plaque made for those families. So it could go either way on that. My personal preference is the etching.
That's mine as well.
But typically, a municipality would indicate how they want it, and it would be all the same, uniform.
Yeah, so you can keep a uniform look to it. So the etching doesn't have to all be identical because they're all different pieces, but I would say on a columbarium where you have the niches all side by side, you'd want to keep the same font and sizes on those. But when it gets to the more personalized size, like they've etched, I don't know, is that cats? Cats and rabbits or something on the face of theirs, but with their name. So you can personalize your own piece very nicely, so.
So Dan, if you would talk about some of the pros and cons of the garden versus traditional plots.
Pros and cons. So the pros of a cremation garden would be you're using a lot less space to get a lot more interments in. Currently, Utah is close to 50% cremation rate statewide, not necessarily in every community, just depends where you're at. So bigger cities, it's a higher rate, smaller communities, much lower rate, but average is high 40s, almost 50%. And we are behind the national average by about 10%. But we're keeping up and actually kind of catching up with the national. So it is changing to be more cremation oriented. And so it is moving along, it's coming along, going that route, whether you like it or not. But
So
everybody has their preference.
if it's going that route, how many times do they just sprinkle it over Utah Lake as opposed to actually memorializing it? Any idea on that?
I don't.
Because I wonder how much that changes and if that's something we consider probably too much to try.
Yeah, most private cemeteries, when they're selling and, you know, they get somebody that comes in, has their client there, they're trying to keep them in the cemetery. So if they're doing cremation, they're trying to sell them a space in the cemetery where you don't really have that coming at you. It's more like, well, this is where we want to get buried. So you say, okay, here's what we have to offer. So the private cemeteries, they're trying to keep them there and keep the urn from going home and sitting on the mantle and then later on getting put in the closet. And then if they actually do go and sprinkle them on Utah Lake or the tops of the mountains, then they'll usually want a place to memorialize. So they end up coming back to the cemetery and buying something where they can memorialize in the cemetery, which most often ends up the cremation garden because they can buy something small. That was where you asked a question, what is a cenotaph?
Yes.
And the cenotaph is where most memorialization happens
Cenotaph
if there's
there's no
urns.
remains.
Yeah, if there's
They
no
do a
remains,
cenotaph.
it's the cenotaph that you get memorialized on, unless they want to end up spending more money and just buying a marker just to memorialize on it. But that's
We don't currently have any remains there that are cremated, do we? Do we?
We do.
And so where are they?
So just
Long
right over
burial.
in this area of the cemetery, I mean, technically, somebody could buy a full plot, jump in whenever one, but technically, somebody could buy a full plot and just put an urn in that. which I know has happened in the past, but we have divided some areas in this, kind of that center in the southeast corner, for half size plots.
Yeah, we divided the full plot in half.
Oh,
And
okay.
then you can put 2 urns. You can put up to 2 urns per half lot. So if you could actually put 4 urns in a full-size 40-inch by 100-inch.
Which what we see is when you have a cremation garden, usually the lawn burial interment of urns goes away, because they're like, well,
Yeah.
why do I want to be here? I could be there.
Probably more economical as well.
So I think the pros of the cremation garden is you're using a lot less space. You're getting your marker with your purchase of your interment space. Well, I don't think of this as a downside, but others do, is the maintenance. Maintenance on the cremation garden, it's not necessarily a higher level of maintenance. It just takes
More
it's
nuance.
it's a different maintenance. So instead of riding a mower around,
Yeah.
you walk through, you pick weeds, you put pre-emergent herbicide down to keep the weeds down.
And some perennial plants, bushes, yeah.
Perennials, shrubs,
Yeah.
no annuals typically in the cremation garden unless you have like an entry feature that you're trying to keep colorful all the time. So, but typically you plant it and it just goes from there on out. So I don't see it as a downfall, but others do because they think, oh, I don't want to weed. So.
But you made a comment in that first meeting I attended that you felt, as I recall, that you thought it was a lower maintenance cost. Did I misunderstand that?
No, correct.
Water-wise, you're not paying weekly mowers and trimmers to come.
Correct.
And the weed and feed on the grass and.
Yeah, so grass, you have all of the expense of all the fertilizer, the mowing. It ends up adding up way more than what you
Over
would
time,
on
yeah.
planting beds. So,
What I do recall is that city personnel will actually have to remove the stone to turn the
Yes.
ashes, right? It wouldn't be a mortuary like we do now with the interments. Mortuary comes, lowers the casket in the vault. At that point, it will be city personnel doing the cremation garden interments.
Would you need any equipment for that, for some of the heavier pieces of granite?
Maybe just some kind of a leverage to be able to lift them up and tilt them, and some kind of tool. We wouldn't do it just with bare muscle.
We dig the grave now, though, don't we?
Yeah, we currently dig the graves.
Okay, we wouldn't do that. Instead, we would just use the tractor to pick it up and put it down.
Yeah, some not quite. I don't know what kind of tools would be needed for.
most of the time, I believe they use straps like you would use for a refrigerator. And they have 2 people, they pick it up, and then you can put it down on the ground or on a table, tip it over, put the urn in, and then seal that space back up, and then put it back down on.
And then we would contact the monument company to come and do the etching of the.
Yeah. So you would work out with the family what they want etched on there, and then work with the monument company to figure out what the price is for that, and then they'd come and do it. So.
All right, council, well, this is just a concept for you to review and consider. This is what's being recommended thus far. Any further comments or questions or ideas you would want to see?
Just looking at the pictures and just kind of imagining what this might look like there in that space, it really does add, I think, a nice dimension to that space. And I think providing that number of spaces for cremation is probably right. I think Lincoln was heading a little bit toward wondering about the phases and maybe just seeing how things progress. So I think initially I'd probably looking at doing 1 phase at a time or maybe up to 2, but yeah, I really like the concept and would love to see that progress.
All right, thank you. I do have a question about the street that intersects with 600 North there. It looks like the street width that's being proposed is wider than the current entrance on 200 East. Any particular reason for that profile to be wider there? So you're thinking to have parking, okay,
So
to
there-
allow
there could
parking
still could be
adjacent.
parking there,
Right,
yeah.
correct, they can't, there's not room to park at that entrance.
And it's, traffic-wise is easier as well when you match the other intersection. If you're skinnier, then you're offset from the other side as well. But mainly it's for ingress, egress in the cemetery, especially if somebody's happens to park in that area. So if you had a service and you were going to leave, you still could have, basically, if they align themselves right, that you could have a car turning left and a car turning right getting out of there.
Okay.
Rather than just
Makes sense.
waiting for everybody.
And then as far as the, oh, Juan, you have a comment?
And currently, we are at about 76% sold out. Not filled, not in turn, but you can see that the white is what's remaining to be sold.
So my only other question is our recently completed building, which will be potentially a future office. I've not seen parking stalls for that building. You, again, assuming customers or clients would just park parallel on the street if they needed to come use the restrooms or talk with someone in the office?
Yeah, there is no parking. It probably just what you can pull into the base. It's a little bit wider road right there.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of room in front.
yeah, so from what we had drawn as the road, there's quite a bit of room between what would be roadway and the
Room only for
office.
parallel, or could you have angled parking or perpendicular parking? I'm just curious if we would ever paint stripes or,
Probably not.
I
Just
don't think
let
there's
everybody
room for
use. That's what they do at other cemeteries. They just kind of park wherever they
Yeah.
can. Let at least one row or one lane of traffic go through, right?
Yeah.
You said 76%. How many burial plots are there in the existing cemetery?
They're about, what was it, 3,600?
I think that's what you had said before, yeah.
3,600.
And
And this was built in 1992,
93 to 96, somewhere in there.
do we have a sense of projections, like how many we're going to need, how many spots we're going to need? How many burial plots?
For eternity?
Well, yes, we'll start there and we'll work our way back.
So we calculated a few years back, so based on the average number of burials that we had done over a 5-year period, if that sustained, that the number of plots that we could get without a cremation garden, it was like 240 years worth of burials, if we maintained that same average. And so it's a
With
long
this
time.
plan, you're saying?
That was several years ago, assuming we just maximized the number of traditional plots. And so that didn't count
Okay.
these smaller urn locations, didn't count a cremain wall. That was just if we maximized the number of plots. Because phase 2 actually had a plan that the surveyors did when it first was built. And they said, here's how many, I want to say it was 5,000 and some. And so, but it was a long time. It was a couple 100+ years.
Okay.
I need to be reminded, was it 50 interments a year?
No.
It varies. During COVID, we had about 110.
Okay.
And then we're about 50 to 60 a year for the past, since I've been here, except for the 1 year that we sold.
Except for the 1 year.
There's another question, Cole, you're not asking, which is, again, I just attended that one meeting for Van, and I learned a whole lot more than I ever knew I needed to learn. But early on, we were selling them at such a low cost. People were buying them. They didn't care where it was or what it was. It was just, where can I get the cheapest plot that I can buy? And so it was getting filled with, non-Lindon residents, people that had nothing to do with the area.
Sure.
They increased the price, and it changed. And correct me on any of this information that I'm saying. Our pricing now.
Yeah, we do not differentiate between resident and non-resident for the purchase of the plot. Where we make the price difference is on the actual burial in turn. We charge for non-residents more.
So I own plots from years ago. My family history is American Fork. They do have a building with just a few little stalls, because you do go into a little office. I think once you get a certain size of interments, then at some point down the road, I would imagine we will have potentially hours or someone in that office that we built for it to be a potential. So I'm just curious if we could
work something.
look into, and I think they have, when I've visited there, it's like 4 stalls. It's not something huge, but it's just if you're a customer going to use the restroom there or going into the little office, if you say there's room, I would like to see us have that demarcation. Yeah. Might as well do it.
I would echo that as well. Before, when we were picking plots for my wife, we went to Orem, and there were a couple spots there that we were able to pull into.
Steve, you had asked about those half plots, so all those that are in yellow on this area that was designated as urns are sold. And we just created this probably within the last 8 or 10 years. So.
If you can zoom in a little tighter to those 2 plots, then it tells you who's buried there.
That's awesome. On the PDF, when it says internment totals, are those the red and green sections, so fully built out totals?
Yeah, so the top one is fully built out.
So it would be 4,488 burial spots, not with the cremation.
Actually, hang on.
I think you just have them divided by area.
Oh, by area, yeah. So the west garden has 2375 potential. The north garden is 514. The center area is about 1,600. And then we were asked about if we removed the cremation garden, how many burials that would put back in. So if the cremation garden was gone, we'd put 316 back in.
Okay.
But we'd lose 907.
Yeah.
So then we went and did the phase 1 areas. So if we had the north area, the central area, and the phase 1 of the cremation garden, those are the totals there again. So.
I think for me, the maximizing of our space was one of the biggest selling points on the cremain garden, where we were able to pick up 600 additional spots by doing the garden versus the traditional plot sizes. And so I felt like that was beneficial.
And that could increase as well if the cremation garden sells out, and then you have to do the other cremation areas. That'll also give longevity to the cemetery.
Since our last meeting, I went and talked to Orem, went in up there and talked with them, and they're getting ready to do some of this. I'm curious of the thought process, and I love the design, I love the thought process, the balance, and really liking where this is going and where the phases are. I've been a little bit curious about where all of the other cities are getting to on the cremation part. If Orem's moving that way, and more requests with the numbers, that's happening more and more often. How many in the valley have that option? How many cemeteries have that? I mean, if you're one of the first to get there, and I've only visited Orem, do you then become the source where everybody that wants to do cremation comes this direction and pushes your numbers maybe quicker. I'm just curious if you know what the other cemeteries in the valley are doing right now.
Provo, we did their cemetery expansion and cremation garden there. So they have their cremation garden in place. They're adding on to, they did a phase 1 of product. They built the whole garden, but they did a phase 1 of product. So then phase 2 is gonna come in this year, adding more product into their garden.
What's the distance in years? How much time occurred from phase 1 to now starting phase 2?
Oh man, how long did that actually take?
5, 15?
Seems like, yeah, about 17 is about when they finally finished their expansion. So since 2017 to now. So their cremation garden's down that bottom section there. Yeah, right there. So
Anyway, that'd be just
yeah.
curious if, I don't know if you have that type of data or if that's something that we.
I don't know on all of the city cemeteries. I had talked to Orem about doing theirs. I had to go give a presentation, but I haven't ever heard back.
Well, maybe something that can answer your question.
I don't know what they're doing.
We've allowed cremation burials already.
Yeah.
And what's the data on how many of those are resident versus non-resident currently?
Yeah.
I don't want to sound exclusive, but I like the space
American
for
Fork,
Lindon.
when we did American Fork edition, that Children's Memorial Garden that was added on, that took out part of the street, that was supposed to be cremation garden as well. But they ran out of money and decided not to do it. But they had a lot of projects going on, I guess, that were coming out of the same pot, so. One of the reasons why they hired us was because the cremation garden, we told them how the cremation garden would actually pay for itself and pay for the construction of the garden. But that ended up not happening with them they cut the cremation portion out of it, so.
How expensive are the costs then if you're trying to recoup the cremation garden? What's the difference in, if you will, in the interment? What's the overall pricing?
That does vary from product to product because each of them have a different cost associated with them. So the cremation pedestals, which are the ones with the statues on top, the cost of purchasing one, just for, if you guys are gonna purchase it and put it out there, is about $3,500. And then selling it wise, I think a few of the local cemeteries would sell those for between $9,000 and $15,000. But you're getting the 4 interments with that. So if they were gonna go buy 4 spaces at the cemetery, you look at that, and then 4 monuments. So you kind of have to balance out the costs between those things, so.
Here's a list of Provo's cremation garden
Very good.
fees, so it's all over the map. 300 up to a bench of 2,500.
And by the way, when we get ready to do this again, it would be fun to have a little glossary and a definition next to it again as we start looking. Okay, maybe it's just my lack of education, but there's terms I've never used in my life here before.
For sure.
Yeah. And
I'm not even sure I can say them.
I will tell you this, I didn't suggest pricing to them. They didn't totally follow it because their city council has to approve all of their pricing. So their city council drives what the sale price is of those things. At those prices, they really wouldn't pay themselves back for the construction of the garden. They'd have to be a bit higher, because where it says the bench is $2,500, just to purchase the bench is about $1,400. So then you have to pay for the pad and the install of it, so then you're down to that you've only maybe recouped $500. from it, so it really should be set higher. What I typically would see the benches in the area here sell for is about the $8,000 range. And that helps cover perpetual care fund. I know you don't have sales staff, but in their case, it covers their sales staff, all of that kind of thing. So yours might not have to be as high because of that, but covering the costs is a good thing.
All right, well, Councilmember Stewart, it sounded like you liked the
Yeah.
plan as presented.
I do.
Anyone else as presented, or?
I guess that if I were to summarize my thoughts, I like the phased idea, so we can be flexible. The back of the envelope, if it's like 4,500 burials with 60 burials per year, that's 75 years, but it'll be a little bit more than that. So it'd be nice to have the flexibility if we do need to have more space to make some of those choices. I just drew a rectangle and kind of eyeballed this, and it was like maybe 120 more burial spots if we didn't have that road. With the cremation garden, I don't know how quickly, like you were all saying, the phases come on. And so I would be more inclined to have phase 3 be phase 2, so it feels more symmetrical longer, rather than having one of the sides and then nothing else for a while and doing it counterclockwise. I like the idea of maybe having a space or two already indicated for parking at the office. And I had mentioned earlier, I would also be fine going higher rather than wider if cremation became really popular, to have one of those offerings be tall. And so people, if that's less expensive, I noticed on the Berg, there's like price changes on how high things are, where it's less expensive the higher you go. And so if we're looking at space saving, those are some thoughts. That's what I have.
I can help you with that pricing thing. Usually the highest priced is what they call the heart level. So anywhere from your eyes down to about your waist, that's going to be your most expensive
Yeah, that makes
area.
sense.
So when it's down lower, not as expensive, and once you get up out of reach, that's when it starts dropping way down in price.
That makes a lot of sense.
That sounds like a marketing term, the heart level.
The heart level.
That's what they always tell me. That's the heart level. So I'm like, okay.
Any thoughts on cost on phasing? Do we put it all in at once?
Sounds like phasing is what we're feeling here, so that there's open space for other product types or garden designations. Maybe we'll have a pet cemetery section.
I do agree with Cole, though, that having some symmetry to that would be important. It did seem weird to have like one side and then the rest not. I noticed that more than half the cost is just the granite, those pieces that come in. It was like,
So
that's
beyond phasing of the cremation garden, what about phasing in these colors? Do we do just the red and then the green, or do you both at the same time?
Are there disadvantages to the red and then the green? I haven't really heard any disadvantages. There must be some.
Cost is going to be the big
Front
thing.
cost, and then you would have to be mowing the green area.
For many years before it gets
Irrigating,
customers.
mowing, maintaining that whole green area. Because I didn't say this earlier, we probably would phase the burials in as well. So even in the pink area, say the north area, say, okay, that's all opened up for sale from the get-go. And then maybe 4 lots wide down the east side. So if you took, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you cut straight down right through here and said that from east of that line, those spaces were open for burial. If you did that and the north area, that's about 20 years worth of inventory.
That's great.
Yeah.
So there's really no need to go into the green area right off the bat. So you could continue to lease that to the farmer, not have to maintain it, and just maintain your garden and slowly work your way across.
So that's the pros, right? I mean, I'm already sold on the phasing. Are there cons to phasing? Juan, Adam.
I don't.
Well, a con might be if where our farmer decides he doesn't want to farm that anymore, then we've got an open spot of ground, we've got to do something.
Still got to maintain it then.
So unless we can find somebody else to farm it, then we've either got to plant grass in it or we've got to do something with it.
Or just, it's wide enough for pickleball courts.
The other con is, in my opinion, the peacefulness and tranquility that you might experience in a cemetery, it may not be
If you're farming
what you
it.
want across the street from you occurring as farming operations. And so that's my own personal opinion. Right now, we have a fence that separates the current cemetery from this field. And I don't think we would put up a fence right along the side of that roadway. And so essentially, you would have this on the opposite side of the street in the cemetery.
Which I live across the street from it now, and everyone likes the farming. No one has a problem with it that I'm aware of.
There are a lot of cemeteries that actually do have farming on the property.
On the perimeter.
Because they're not using it. Like, a lot of cemeteries are all leased out for farming. One of them that I work on, there's 40 acres of farmland that's adjacent to the cemetery, and we've taken 2 acres of it so far, of the 40. So we're just incrementally marching in, slowly taking away the farmland. So it happens quite often where it's farming.
I like the phasing.
Yeah. Red.
Financially, yeah,
Yeah,
pay
Agreed.
for it as we need it,
Yeah.
but it's good to have the master plan. So put in the hard features.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's awesome. Looks great.
Anything else you need from us on this?
Timing. When would you like to see this happen? We're running out of spaces.
So that section there that has down the middle, that you were showing, Dan, that we could initially expand it, right there, there's
Yeah, the front.
into the pink, just, what is it, 2.5 plot segments. That whole section there is a lot of,
But we would have to irrigate the whole thing and put it in all at once, wouldn't we? I mean,
Yeah,
we're not
so-
gonna leave
so-
this center section
No,
with-
yeah, so
with-
if we were to do this phase, everything in pink is what we were planning
all at
on for
once.
phase
Okay, you
one.
wouldn't divide up the
So
pink.
it would be grassed and irrigated, and then we just open up the burials so that we don't get burials just
Random.
jumping all
Popping
over the
around
place.
Yeah.
We want them to kind of fill in as we come across.
You say we're 70% full. How long before we're
76.
76? So the remaining 24, how long do you think we have till?
Remember, Vineyard doesn't have a cemetery. A lot of people come from Pleasant Grove saying we like the cemetery better. That's where we need to do our pricing wisely to make it last as long as we can. But
How long would it take to do the red?
Construction-wise, I think construction-wise, it'd probably, I think you could be done in 3 months.
Oh, okay.
It's not, it really doesn't take all that long.
Right.
You would clear and grub the area out, grade it, cut the roads in, then get the cremation garden going, and then get the sod and irrigation in, planting in, the granite in.
Longer time is coming up with 1.2 million.
That was for the whole,
That's for
both
phase
red
one.
and green.
That's for phase one of this, and phase one of the cremation garden would be about 1.2.
So one, I haven't seen Jose put in a crop yet. Usually there's one in there by now. Do you know is he on hold for this at all? Or is he leaving it fallow 1 year, or?
he's finishing just over there by what the park? Over there.
Oh, okay, Hollow Park? Okay.
Depends on what you're planning. I mean,
I wonder what he's growing this year. So council, yeah, that's the other consideration is funding it. This would be if we want to do it right away, it'd have to be part of the budget discussion and adoption.
We were actually planning on, what we need to have is a plan so we can send out to bid, but we're not thinking on building this until 2026.
Okay, so next fiscal year.
Kind of looking at fall of 25 into 2026 budget.
Next fiscal year, if that's what we did.
But what we do need to have is a plan that we can send out to bid for construction.
Okay. So that would be the question if council wants, so we could be looking at 1 to 1.5 million roughly for the next fiscal year if we were to kick it off at that point. But you would look to send out to bid at what point to get pricing?
We want to bid it in the spring of 25 so we can start construction in the fall.
Okay. Very good. Is that a timing everyone wants to look at serious expansion? To have staff explore the
I
bids?
wouldn't want to do it any sooner.
Yeah. I don't think we need to rush.
No.
So tell Jose
Carlos.
to work the whole ground this year, huh? Okay. All right.
Is there any reason, Adam, we should try and pull that trigger sooner? Are you comfortable with that
That's
timing?
completely up to you guys. I think we have, 20 or 25% left, and so we have some wiggle room. It would be something for us to talk about in our budget discussion tonight. Do you want to put some funds from our general fund towards this? If it's only a year away, I would start doing that instead of just having a fund balance that we're worried about maxing out. Put away 500,000.
We'll put away some now for later, and then instead of
some
doing it all at
next
once.
fiscal year. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't think, Lincoln, the timing's gonna be too much of a concern, and worst case scenario, you bump your price and it'll slow it down too.
Right.
Right.
And again, my thought is always taking care of our Lindon people. And when people come from Tooele, I'm not as sympathetic.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Interestingly, I think a lot of our burials, and we'll have to look into this, are residents that have lived in Lindon and then bought a plot and moved.
Yeah.
And so they are passing away in other places, but coming back.
They're still.
And so they're still okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's just that shopping for the best value with no connection to the city.
Any other direction you guys feel like you need? Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. Okay, we're on item number 10 now of the agenda, which is transfer enterprise funds to the general fund, something we do each fiscal year. This is a public hearing, so I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hooley. All in favor to open the public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in the public hearing. We'll have a quick bit of information and then open it up for comment.
So this year, we're proposing a transfer for the solid waste collection fund of $29,400, in the stormwater fund, $108,528, and the telecommunication fund of $1,700. These are transfers that are intended to cover administrative and overhead costs of the enterprise funds doing business in the city, but isn't an exact transfer of what those costs may be. So could be more or less. We don't intend to pay the enterprise funds back for those. This is a fund, as the mayor mentioned, transfers that we make annually. Of note, this year and last year, we did not transfer any funds from the sewer and water funds to the general fund, just to try to keep utility rate increases lower and help build those fund balances where we're doing lots of projects in those areas. And so a copy of the mailer, the flyer that went out to residents, was included in your staff report. It was also sent out through the newsletter emails that we have on record. It was posted on social media. It's on on the public notice site, on our website. So got it out about as many ways as we could.
And I wanted to commend you, Adam, and staff who put this together in past years. Sometimes the postcard was just very simple. we're going to transfer funds and we would have people with questions. And I felt like this gave some really great information to explain the philosophy behind treating these. These are essentially little micro businesses or departments within the city. And so this is just keeping a fair distribution of overhead and administration. And so we're also regulated by the state in some aspects as well. So these have to be within reason and justified as such. So I felt like that gave really great information. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to make a comment or a question. Okay.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hooley. All in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
All right, Council, it's back to you. Any further questions regarding this item?
No, I don't think there's anything we need to do.
All right.
So no motions needed, you can just move on to the next item.
That's
if
right.
That's it, so.
Okay, so on to item number 11 is also a public hearing regarding our next fiscal year budget 2025 compensation programs.
Make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hooley to open a public hearing on item number 11 of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll have Adam take this one away as well.
Yeah, this is very similar, new legislation that requires that we hold a separate public hearing, advertised again in multiple places and on the public notice website, that we would hold this public hearing to review compensation, any changes, in fact, it's not changes, it says any increase in compensation to specifically executive municipal officers. And in the state code, that defines that as within Lindon, it would be the city administrator, attorney, chief of police, police lieutenant, public works director, finance director, assistant finance director, community and economic development director, parks and rec director, and then it may include the chief building official and city engineer, depending on who's interpreting that state law. So what's being proposed as part of this year's budget, two things that we felt would need to be brought up is this 3.4% COLA that's being proposed for all city employees, including elected and appointed officials, just elected officials. And then we do have one or two of these individuals that could also receive this 0.7% offset for the URS contributions that we've talked about for the retirement contributions. Those would be the budgeted increases for those positions. So we've included as part of this the entire compensation section of the budget. This is just a duplicate of what's already included in the packet for the budget discussion. It has a pay chart and then a table that's associated with all of the different positions in the city, their range on that chart, and what their hourly rate is. And then all the other compensation programs that are listed there in the budget. So, any questions about that?
Yes, and of note, so for those that are new council members, when we adopt a COLA, that's across the board, including elected officials, but we are not subject to the merit pay. Merit is just going to be if you're voted in again, I guess. So, but no pay for that. All right. So if you've had a chance to look through this, any questions for staff at this time?
This is well written.
Yeah.
Easy to understand and follow. Thank you.
I had one question down at the tuition reimbursement program, which I thought was super cool. Employees may qualify for up to 75% reimbursement of tuition. And then total reimbursement benefits have been proposed in the amount of $1,500. Does that mean that's as much as we anticipate we'll be putting out for people to take advantage of this?
I only had a request for one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not very common, but
I love training our youth and building them up, and I love education. I think that's cool that we have that.
we have
Everybody
had
should
several
take
people take
advantage of it.
advantage of that over the years, so.
And there's still a commitment time.
There is, there's a commitment where they have to be here up to 3 years, or it's paid back at a prorated scale, so.
That's awesome.
So, not, can you read the minds of the people that passed this law? Why did we need to have a separate thing for this? Like, what did they? What are they hoping that we
on the
did?
legislation, one of the attorneys for the League of Cities and Towns said this was a legislator whose local representative was upset that a city manager in a city up north received some compensation that wasn't brought up specifically in the budget hearing. And I don't know what that was, but that upset somebody and that led to this legislation.
Okay. Thanks.
Great mind reading.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why, if I missed it, like if we were supposed to do something different. Thanks.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Hooley to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
So we're on item 12.
Yep. So let's go now to the next public hearing, also regarding the final budget adoption. And we'll invite Kristen Colson-Aaron up for that and open a public hearing. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to open a public hearing.
Okay, he gave me the eyes. All right. Motion, okay, motion by Councilmember Stewart, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs to open a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen.
All right, so I would like to start with the budget amendment for, excuse me, 2024 fiscal year. And there was a lot of cleaning up and tightening the numbers up, and revenues coming in higher than what we originally anticipated.
Terrible news.
Yep. Yeah, and so, yeah, you'll see that in the presentation of the 25 budget, that we're gonna have a better ending fund balance than originally anticipated. So.
I think we just spent that with our previous discussion.
Maybe, we did pull back some projects since the tentative budget, the Lakeview roadway project and a few things that are enterprise fund related, so. And then some pool, there was quite a few things in the pool and Parks and Rec that we pulled back after your feedback too, so.
So are there any questions on the budget amendment? Oh, one of the things I do want to point out is transferring 200,000 to the facilities CIP fund, and that can actually help go towards the cemetery. So,
great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had some extra funding, and I didn't want to propose a budget that would violate state law of having more than 35% fund balance.
Great.
Great suggestion to set aside for future capital needs like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the amendment section is just these that were highlighted in blue, these tabs. That's amending this current fiscal year, which ends the end of June.
This month.
Of the moment. Yeah, my question was the 200,000, so thanks for answering that.
Yep. All right. Then
All right.
we'll move on.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so anyone else for comment or question? All right, and if we could just get a quick reminder, our official date to adopt is?
The due date to adopt by the state would be the 21st of June. So we're doing it early.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what I'm just wondering what the due date was.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
so we've been usually the second meeting in June, but the last couple of years, we've been a little bit
scooting
ahead.
it a little earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so tonight, as part of this action item, the ordinance that's included in your packet, and when we get to a motion, that would include the budget amendment for this current year and adoption of next year's budget. And then there's several other things there that we'll review, so, okay.
Are there any other, I know that we looked at some employee, wage range accommodations and things like that. Do we feel settled with all those positions right now that were looked at on some of them?
Those are, the ones that we're recommending are included in the budget for
Okay.
next year, yeah. So I know we've had a conversation just a week or so about somebody else, and we haven't finalized anything there. So if we need to make a change on that, we'll bring that up. So.
Okay, just want to make sure that was still a possibility. Okay. All right, very good.
All right, so I'm just gonna jump ahead to the fund balance, one, and
Where is it? Right there.
Yep. So, after the changes to the 24 fiscal year budget and then doing some more tweaking, the general, for the 25 fiscal year budget, the general fund is expected to end in June of 2025 with a fund balance 4.7 million, which is 33.3% of our revenues. And the state says that the maximum is 35%.
So a question on that, and I think I know the answer, but maybe you'll be clear. So if we say, hey, we want to take 500,000 of that 4 point whatever and put it towards the cemetery, does that still count towards the 35?
It does not.
You're allocating it for
Correct.
future. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yep. As long as that allocation is in another fund, like the facilities capital improvement fund.
That's if we get financially sideways for some reason or a downturn in the economy, we can move that back. And so there's nothing that prevents you from doing that.
So I'm going to clarify what I think you just said. So we can take that 500,000 out, this balance percentage drops a little bit, and we can put that somewhere else, and we're great.
We're not maxing it anyway, quite
Right.
yet, so. Okay.
Yep. All right, any other questions on our fund balance? Then going to the revenues, that's where the money comes from citywide. We're at $28.5 million in revenue budgeted, and then you can see how it's broken up throughout the whole city. Excuse me.
What's that number from last year? Do you have that off the top of your head close?
I want to say it was like 27 million from last year.
That might be a fun thing to put in here, just
Okay.
the last couple of years it was this, so we get a trend of. I mean, I could find it, but it'd take me probably a half hour to go back and find an old. And I'm great for tonight, but just kind of in future things to, kind of a fun thing.
I just have a question that on page.
This is it from last year.
Show off.
Hey, at least I know where it is. That's.
Kristen, 27 right on the money.
Yeah, good job. Yeah.
1 million more.
So that's our current 28,559. Last year 27,586.
Well done, thank you.
A question on page 72, these new, it says miscellaneous residential permit fees.
Right, so with our changes in fee schedule, I've added quite a few since I last presented. I believe Mike presented in the last city council meeting some that he was going to propose. So this is putting those up so you can see them in this format. And what was your question?
So are these items that residents need to get a permit for, or is it contractors need to get these?
Which one specifically?
So for
Like
example, furnace and AC replacement, re-roof. Okay, Bryce.
So the state construction code states that whoever causes the work to be done is responsible to get the permit. So that could be the contractor, that could be the owner. Typically, building departments don't care who gets it, as long as the permit is purchased.
But you would have contractor information on there if, if it's a furnace or something like that.
Okay.
Correct, unless they do it as an owner builder for the home that they live in and own, then the state allows them to do their own work without a license.
Did you guys do any further research into meters to measure gas leakage? Have you come up with any?
Yeah, they don't seem too expensive, so that would be easy to get.
$100?
Yeah.
I mean, it's menial. That was a great thought, yeah.
All right. So what are your, do you believe that people are aware when they're replacing an AC unit or a furnace that they're supposed to have it inspected by our department? Is that,
Typically homeowners?
Yes.
Are not.
that's what I would guess, so,
Contractors are. That's, from my experience, I've been a contractor, I've been in this for 30 years. And generally speaking, contractors are very aware. They just find reasons not to for various purposes. But homeowners typically are not. And I'm guessing most of us here in the room probably did not know.
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking about it. So are these standards that have been around for a while that you're supposed to have a permit and an inspection, or, because it says fee schedule additions, so just curious what the timing is. Were we supposed to be doing these all along for a long time? Was this in the, okay.
Yes.
And
All
I
right.
think it was getting charged, but it was getting charged as a building
Jump in, Mike.
permit.
Yeah.
And then calculated in a different way. And so this is just setting the fees at a more standard rate.
That's correct.
That's correct, yeah, we've been charging these, there's lots of people that get furnace permits and re-roof permits through their contractors. A lot of residents don't know about it, and we probably need to do some additional education, but the way we're calculating it now is different.
Okay,
And this puts it in the public view.
very good. All right, any other questions, councils? You look at these.
While Bryce and Mike are here, do you guys want to talk about the additional building permit changes on the fees?
Most of these are the same that we saw last.
That we discussed 2 weeks ago, right?
They're 2 weeks, but I did send you an email on some clarification. You could kind of see, we gave you some different examples of what permits would be under different scenarios of home sizes. I also provided a graph that came from the Home Builders Association that I think was really helpful. It shows where we're at compared to the rest of the county.
I thought it was interesting, even with these changes, while the permit fee increases a little bit, we are still, looks like, second lowest.
That's what I was going to ask you, if that was reflecting these changes in that.
It had the impact fees reflected, but I didn't have enough time to get with Bryce to update the plan review changes. And so it puts us probably closer to right where Lehigh is at.
Okay.
So better helps cover our costs. We're still one of the lowest or
Right.
cheapest cities to build in.
And that's been coming up a lot lately in our meetings as we talk. How do we compare to other cities? And we compare very well.
Yes.
So,
Home Builders Association updates that spreadsheet and that graph every August. And so we'll get an update later this year.
okay.
All right.
So where does ours is at 8,800? Where will it go up to after we make the change?
Which one?
I'm on the Home Builders Association spreadsheet that you sent. Impact fee total $8,889.
Yeah, so that'll stay the same.
Okay, that's the same.
I updated, I increased the sewer, decreased the water.
So this is the updated.
Yes, but not for the city hookup, city fees / hookups.
Oh, okay, that was a
That
little.
will increase a little bit because of how we're adjusting our plan review amounts.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments on the
Quite a few.
development? And these are just the changes that she's identified, so the entire fee schedule is 20 pages long, and it's at the end of the budget document, so.
If there's no other questions on development fees, then I will move on to miscellaneous fee of the certified tax rate. So it will change, but the state, or the county hasn't given us the change yet, so in the fee schedule, it will be changed to as set by Utah County.
There you go.
You budgeted on your best guess, right?
Correct. Yep. And then the new business license fees. Any questions on those? Probably, you've already seen these presented. And then the next slide with Public Works, this is a new one that hasn't been presented yet. When we, oh, thank you, sorry about that. When we rent hydrant meters so that contractors can use water, sometimes I guess we run out of hydrant meters, or they want to use different kinds. So we added on the different types of meters before, so it's already effective now. But we realized that the water usage rates were saying culinary water usage, and it was just kind of vague. And so I wanted to put it right there with the meter rentals. This is what we're going to charge based on the size of the meter, because like a hydrant meter is a 3-inch meter. And so if they use 100,000 gallons, then they would be charged, so much, like 43,000 at one rate, and then the next chunk at the next rate, and then going up into tier 3. So I just wanted to have that listed there. And this rate is actually right in between, because we have different usage rates depending on how far east it goes, because there's pumping costs, and so we don't ever track where they're using the hydrant meters necessarily, and so this way we don't have to worry about it. We'll just say, this is the cost for renting a meter and using the water. So, any questions on that?
A little bit off topic, but I know that we had some forensic data. Heather's been working on finding all the accounts that were maybe not being billed correctly. I know she had been doing some good work there. Any updates on that?
That's an ongoing thing. I don't think we're doing anything specific. It's not like there's a specific project occurring, but it's just her going through the month-to-month billing process and trying to catch any errors or mistakes.
Yeah, kind of reining those in.
I think she was finding quite a few during the secondary water meter project, as meters were getting installed, and then realized, well, we didn't even know that there was secondary water in that lot, and hadn't been charging them the base rate. So I think she found a little bit more at that time with that work. But so right now she's just trying to get all those secondary water meters reading for the first time this season. So.
Okay. Anything else on that section, council?
And then the utility rate increases we've covered already. So are there any questions on fee schedule changes? And then I will move on to expenditures. So the total expenditures citywide is 31 million, net of the fund balances and transfers. And you can see it's 30% personnel and 27% capital and 43% operations. And then going to personnel, We've talked about the cost of living increase of 3.4%. Then there's the merit increase of 2.6%, which wouldn't be effective until January 4th, with the COLA being effective in the first pay period in July. So the cost of those, COLA and the merit increase is $357,000. And then it's broken out by fund, with the general fund having most of it, about $289,000. Also, excuse me, insurance premiums for medical are increasing 6.5%, and for dental decreasing 7%, and the overall increase will be $66,000. And then we've talked about the retirement changes with the 0.7% for Tier 2 employees, and 2.14% for public safety employees, and the city helping to offset those costs. And we will be meeting with Tier 2. Is it all Tier 2 public safety included, or just the non-public safety? So
Everybody.
Everybody. So we'll be meeting with the employees to help them understand what's happening on Thursday. And then the changes in the personnel positions that are in this budget, changing a part-time community development clerk to full-time, adding a part-time front desk clerk at the community center, adding 2 positions, but actually promoting current employees. So we're not adding additional employees, we're just creating room to grow. And that's the police sergeant and assistant city engineer. And then moving part-time court clerks / deputy recorders from, okay, 2 range 11 from 8. So yeah, I thought I got that backwards.
I did a double take the first time I read that.
Yep. So looking at capital expenditures, there's $360,000 for parking lots in the general fund, and you can see where those are, and $235,000 for park improvements, some other equipment. There's $3.4 million for the road fund improvements, and $220,000 in the park tax funds for concrete work and shade at Pheasant Brook Park. And so water fund and sewer fund, that's where we've seen some of the projects taken out. So now we're at $1.6 million in the water fund and $516,000 in the sewer fund for those listed projects. Excuse me. The stormwater fund is $1.4 million in capital improvement projects, and the recreation fund is $535,000, and that also has decreased as we've met throughout this process. And so most of that is for the pool liner replacement phase 2. So do you have any questions on this budget?
Under the road fund, the 3.4, the estimate, that was allocated for Center Street, right? And the estimate came in lower. So do we know what other road projects are going to be done from that 3.4?
We are looking at possibly 900 East and 600 North, but we're having to make an assessment on utilities. That's what's driving if we do a full road reconstruction, depending on what's underneath, kind of what we did with Canal Drive.
Right.
But because our funds are very
tight,
low on our utilities, we have to take a good look at those and see, make a better decision.
That's great. Awesome. I know that a lot of people have been talking about a 135 West as well, so we're Locust.
Another one of those that requires some
issues there.
design. We've been meeting with consultants to see what's the best plan to do with 135, if we still want the trail. Some conversations I'm having with Adam, looking at master plan, see if that's still the way to go. But
great.
we're keeping those 3 projects, right there, maybe we can slightly use that 3.4 million.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Yep. So if I've already presented the fee schedule changes, and there's other documents in the budget, the financial policies that we adopt each year with this budget, and the compensation programs and the fee schedule in its entirety.
Fraud risk assessment, do you have that final from this year?
I apologize. I thought Chase had sent that to you, so it is
So-
final.
Let me pull up the one from last year, because I think there was only one change from last year.
Do you have access to the finance drive? It's.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you put it into the admin drive.
I didn't see it in there. I think he dropped it in the staff report folder.
I don't know that he did.
Oh, well, I'll let you find it in the finance then. So while she's pulling this up, every year the state auditor's office requires that the city go through this fraud risk assessment. It's basically a score that asks a bunch of questions, make sure we're doing certain processes, and we're evaluated on their assessment given this little evaluation sheet of our fraud and risk. And so we've added a couple processes this year that should have moved our score better.
Sorry, he emailed it to me, and I thought he emailed it to you as well.
You want to go drop it in the folder really quick? Yeah. Yours? Okay. While she's going to grab that, why don't we talk really quick about Bookmobile? Can we do that? Mayor, is that okay?
That's fine, just fine.
So if I go to the detailed budget in your bookmarks there, it's, so this is like starts on 107. And then we are going to scroll down. This is under the general fund. Let's see. That's not going to work. Let me just do this here. Library services. So we have budgeted this year $28,000 for this coming fiscal year for library card reimbursements. This current fiscal year, we're estimating we will end this current year at $28,000. And years prior, we were at 25, and then 17. That was coming out of the COVID year, and so that's probably a skewed number, would be my guess on that. So just as an FYI then, so we're at 28,000 for reimbursements. The county said for one stop, one location in the city, 4,900, and then 7,400 for two locations.
What's the window of time frame on that?
It was a few
June
hours.
to,
This was yearly.
all year round?
Yeah, and I'm gonna, let me see if I can find when that was, how often.
And then how many people were using it on average?
We
I
had,
think you said?
after 3 years, we had 20 cardholders.
So we discontinued in
20 cardholders.
2017 is when we ended it.
Yeah.
So from 15, 16, 17, we had 20 cardholders. And so in 2017, the county had quoted us that bigger number. Let me find that.
And I guess my communication to the county commissioners was, again, bringing up the topic of what can we do to get the reciprocal system in our county like they do in Salt Lake County.
Yeah.
It's kind of a conversation I'm not hearing getting started too much. I don't know if it's certain municipalities are just not wanting to participate, or I don't know how to get, I'm just trying to get the conversation started. I don't know if the bookmobile is the answer. I was estimating, again, this is probably a dumb way to look at it, but say one stop, 4,900 for the year, we would need to have at least 55 patrons to be the equivalent of those people getting
Yes.
the reimbursement from, say, an Orem
that makes
participation. And I don't know if we would say, okay, you can have the bookmobile and a reimbursement from another library, or we'd say you're limited to just the book. I don't know if there's a way to delineate that, or if we did the bookmobile. I'm not saying bookmobiles and
Asking for the bookmobile.
residents in Anderson Farms, like 2 I've heard from, but it just brings up the whole question of library services generally. So I think we're, the reimbursement, 28,000, so we have 300 something people doing the library card reimbursement right now, if I do the math, somewhere in that range.
In the last full complete year that we had was fiscal year 23, we had 283 households.
Okay. But according to what we're budgeting, could accommodate a little over 300. So that's the question. Do we feel, in the past, the council's felt good about continuing the library program, and actually a couple years ago, we bumped the reimbursement up to be more generous. Jake and Van were on the council at that time, and myself, because it was only 50% at the time.
It was at 75, and during the Great Recession, we lowered
Dropped
it
it.
to 50%.
And it stayed there
and then
for a
it
good
went back
while.
up.
So it's back up to 75%. I think, so anyway, some people love that. Some people wish they could go to more libraries, and I think with the county bookmobile, Adam, I don't know if you were part of this conversation, but I think the county bookmobile does allow them to get a broader range of borrowing titles and things from around
Does it do
multiple
that?
libraries, doesn't it?
I don't know that.
Does it do that by a person requests it and then it brings it to them?
Yes. Yeah, that's what the bookmobile does. So they can't possibly bring all the digital media and stuff, to peruse, but you look online and you can order and then it comes. Yeah.
For me, I'm very comfortable with the reimbursement. The $4,900 for one stop is $245 per resident that's using it currently. I have a hard time.
Well, they used it up until 2017.
Understand, based on that number, and the
Yeah.
number could go up. I think that's just a big ask for everybody else to, when you can go. I mean, if there were people that couldn't get out, anyway, so I'm good with the reimbursement. I'm a no on the bookmobile.
I'm not trying to promote the bookmobile. It was more, let's revisit this. People are asking.
Yeah.
My favorite would be a reciprocal countywide program that we could participate in. I'll keep trying to have those conversations with the county. But for this next year, it's a budget question, how we want to keep status quo or look at. And they did come down in the price from what they had originally offered to do, so.
I'm with Van. I feel a little bit ill-prepared to really speak to the bookmobile because I haven't given it much thought, and I haven't talked to anybody, and I haven't visited with anybody. There was a resident I was talking to earlier just about library services. They were a single parent, a single mom, and just kind of talking about the difficulty in making the trek to the Orem libraries. In my opinion, it's not that far, but for her, single mom, she indicated that's a bit of a trek. And maybe in that case, a bookmobile would be nice, but she's not in Anderson Farms, so you pick this one place and it wouldn't still give her any value at all.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. I am confirming they do have access to interlibrary loans. So one of the obstacles, I guess, right now with our current program is you have to pick one library.
Yeah.
And then you don't have an ability to get reimbursed or go visit other libraries, where the bookmobile does have interlibrary loan services. Okay, so go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah. One of the things that the Orem Library offers, which I think a lot of them do, is the digital books. And so whatever they don't have in the facility, or if it's difficult for them to get to the facility, the Orem membership would get you access to digital library.
I'm agree with the status quo unless there was enough, how you had said, if there were enough interest where then it was pick a path and this is like the amount that you get
Right.
towards a library opportunity. I would be more comfortable if it was more equitable that way. But for now, I would stick with the reimbursement of the Orem or PG.
You know, the discussion of all of the libraries in the valley sharing is a wonderful concept, but it's interesting that maybe we want that to happen from the community that doesn't have a library. So it strikes me as Orem, Pleasant Grove, our neighboring sister cities would have to decide they think they want to do that.
It would be interesting to know if they get their Orem library card, right, as an out-of-resident Orem person, if they still could use Provo. That would be.
That's what we were told when, as we do the reimbursements, that is available to our residents if they purchase an Orem library card.
All right. Okay, I think that answers your question.
Thank
Answer
you,
your
Council.
question, are you good with that?
Back to fraud.
All right, Kristen. You're back, so we'll resume where we left off. Here, we're still on item number 12 of the agenda.
So, can you?
Can you put it in today's folder? I don't see it in there. Oh, didn't sort it by date. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Explanation on this?
So, this is something that the state has asked us to do, the state auditor's office, to assess our risk for fraud. And then these are the criteria that they've established, which, well, that's what they've established. So, so you can see, do you want to magnify? So,
Yes, please.
Oh, I can see it fine.
So right there under the blue bar at the top is our total points. 365 out of 395 is a very low risk level. And so then those are the the measurements. The 200 points at the top is separation of duties. That's, you know, highly weighted, highly important.
Well done.
What did you say the new ones were that we've added from last year?
The internal audit function and a formal audit committee, those two at the bottom.
So we plan to meet in September, October
Yeah.
on that one? Yeah. So last year, I think we scored in the low, and so we've improved to the very low risk. So as part of the requirements in the state code, we just have to present this to you and say, yes, we've reviewed this, we've done it, and we submit it to the state auditor's office.
So that you all are aware of the city's risk to fraud.
This is a couple of years now.
Yeah, several years now, so. What else? Cemetery fund. Any decision on what you want to do there? Do you want to move some money from the general
All
fund
right, it was
into that?
recommended, you threw a number out. But
So
it's
in
up
the
for-
fiscal year 25 budget, there's also 200,000, another 200,000 going into the facilities fund that can be used towards
So
that.
that'd be 400
So
with
the
200 with the
facilities
amendment?
fund- So there's 200 this fiscal year, 200 next fiscal year, and it's not earmarked for anything in particular. And then going back to the fund balance report, you can see what the balance is in that fund. So it starts out at 1.1 million. We add 200,000, and then we spend 460,000 is being transferred out to the recreation fund for the pool lining project, ending at 872?
872.
Yeah. And so that would be available if you wanted to use that for the cemetery in 26 fiscal year or whenever. I mean, we can do, if you want to start earlier, we could do a budget amendment for the 25 fiscal year.
Trying to think, doing math in my head, what the ending balance percentage would be if we did.
The general fund?
Yes. If we
So if we
moved
took,
more.
if we took it down to 500,000,
Yeah, so if
that
it's
would be about 30%. So there's a
Oh, I see.
weird calculations down there.
I
So-
like that. That's so helpful. Page 106, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
42, 4.2 would be 28.
Which 30% is great.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that 400 or 500 to put towards the cemetery.
Yeah.
From the general fund plus the capital facilities or total?
Now, so we're moving 400 from the other two, correct, that you had mentioned?
Yes, so 400's already in the budget for this fiscal, 200 this fiscal year, 20, and
And that's
225.
reflected
In the capital
in this-
facilities?
Yeah,
Right,
CIP.
right.
Yeah, and those,
So
for
how
those
m-
Thinking if we did another 500,000, how would that impact it? And so that is not in the budget, but it
So
can
that would be 900,000 then that you'd be actually putting toward, we could put toward that and have only 300,000 remaining for the next
Well, and there's
budget.
already a balance in that fund too, which is,
Oh.
That can be used.
yeah.
I think that sounds smart.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that.
You want to do, so I threw out 4 to 5, so 5?
5.
5.
Another 5?
If that's at
Funds.
30%, I'm very comfortable with 30.
Yeah, general fund would be about 4.2 million. Okay.
we still have, that's still a great fund balance to leave. The state used to maximize, we could not cap, what was it, 28% in the past?
25.
25%.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can go up to 35 now is, we're sitting at 30, it's still extremely,
Yeah, and some things to keep in
Stable,
mind.
healthy
So
amount.
this is later, our next item, but after the RDA hearing, this budget includes, this current fiscal year includes payment from the general fund of I forget if it was 1.2 or 1.3 for the sewer expansion project. And so, yeah, and so we would have a larger fund balance, but for some of these other things, and so. Okay. We're at a healthy spot financially.
Awesome.
Any other budget questions, needs, concerns?
No.
public hearing, so we'll open this up for public comment. All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councilmember Stewart, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we are back to you, council, then, for this. This does have a sample motion on page 56 of your packet, if you feel ready to make a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2024-08-0 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Stewart, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. It is adopted. All right, now we'll move on to item number 13.
Before we move
Oh,
on,
go
can I
ahead,
just
yes.
make a comment? I'm sorry. As a newbie and coming from my household budget to a city budget, this has been overwhelming. But I have so appreciated the approach that staff has made to this, that with additional meetings and additional opportunities to hear and understand, you know, everything that's going on. I just want to thank everybody for patience and for clarity and just for making the whole process a little simpler for those of us who are dummies in city
No dummies.
finances.
We're all here to learn together.
Dummy, sorry.
I echo Steve's comments. I still feel stupid, even with all the training, and I look forward someday to maybe being able to be as smart as Van in processing this. But
Experience.
appreciate it,
More
really
fun
do.
now than it was 10 years ago when we were doing this. Just coming out of the recession, it was.
Yeah, thank you all.
Life's definitely better now.
It's still tough, but
Yeah, and then going through COVID and going, I don't know what's gonna happen.
All right, we're on to item number 13. This is a review and action item, so discussing the repayment of the sewer enterprise funds.
So what we've created here is a resolution for consideration by the council to essentially set up the potential repayment of this loan from the general fund of 1.3 million to the sewer fund for our obligations for the Orem Water Reclamation Facility. They have a tertiary treatment, and a few of you saw that under construction. Last year, we went on a tour of that facility, and we could, for those that are new, are happy to set up another one. I'm sure Orem would do that. So
way worth it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm in if anyone sets it up.
Okay, we'll do that. Is that something you can, yeah, in the next few months? That'd be awesome. So we've set the terms on this. The loan repayment period is indefinite. We've made this pretty loose. The loan shall carry no interest, a 0% rate, and the general fund shall be repaid by the sewer fund as the sewer fund is financially able to do so at the discretion of the city council. And the city council may forgive this loan from the general fund and any associated obligations by passage of a future resolution. So it's putting in writing that we have an intent to pay it back. If we decide not to do that, we just need to pass another resolution. But
So I highlighted this whole area because, well, right, even when my wife and I decide, okay, we're going to set money aside for the car and we'll do this, but then we never do. What is there that really encourages us to actually pay this back? Is it written down somewhere, a goal that we want to try and pay it off at a certain rate, not in a document? Well, written down somewhere. What's our intent?
we can add that to this if you want to do that.
Dan, what's?
In my current model, financial model, I have it at a repayment of $200,000 per year.
Okay.
And that, with the fees that I showed you, shows that repayment. I'll have to revisit that model to see with this kind of loosey, helpful payment plan.
So at 200,000, we're looking at 5.5 years or something like that, 6 years, right?
6 years, 6.5.
6.5, right.
7.
So that's a couple different city council, right? Are the next people going to realize that this was a goal at the beginning, or?
Remind us.
We can add that to this document if you want to.
I don't know that.
Just providing flexibility.
Yeah, I like the flexibility.
That plan that I show you every year when I come over to show you the financial plan, it's there.
Okay.
And then we base it off utility rates. Now, if there's a feeling says we don't want to raise the utility rates as much, then that's $200,000 I can play with to extend it out, or.
I'm totally comfortable with this, but you can never leave for 6 years at least.
Leave my password and username.
No,
I don't
Juan,
think
you do.
can put that in the motion.
And Juan will never leave.
That first time you took us through everything that you're doing, Juan, I just sat back there and went, wow, we're so lucky to have Juan. So knowing that you have it on your information, that's great, fantastic.
That you want to that resolution then, or?
We can change it anytime we want.
Right.
I love this statement in the budget message, which is, we aim to use debt sparingly. Debt will only be issued for projects that cannot be reasonably afforded through a pay-as-you-go plan. So love that philosophy behind what we're doing here.
If you're ready, I'll make a motion.
I would be.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-17-R as presented.
I second.
All right, motioned by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're unanimous tonight. All right, this brings us to item number 14. This is a recess to our redevelopment agency. So we'll open this up first on the redevelopment agency here for this. Let me just speak this for the record. This is at 7:50 p.m. here on Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And we'll go ahead and motion to go into the RDA.
I move to recess the Lindon City Council meeting and convene as the Lindon City RDA.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Stewart, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll first do our call to order roll call. So we'll just start here on my left, just say an aye.
Aye.
And state your name.
Steve Stewart, aye. Sorry. I was so obedient.
I know, very obedient. That's very good.
Métis. Lincoln Jacobs, aye.
Aye.
Cole Hooley, aye.
Van Broderick, aye.
Now in the redevelopment agency, item number 2, this is the approval of the minutes from May 6th, 2024. Council, if you had a moment to read those and review.
Changes.
No changes.
No.
All right, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the Lindon City Redevelopment Agency meeting held on Monday, May 6th, 2024.
Okay, so moved by Councilmember Broderick. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hooley. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving forward then to item number 3. This is another public hearing for some budget items here in the RDA.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Broderick,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Stewart to open a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, take it away, staff.
All right, so the RDA has 5 different districts in it, and 3 of them have expired. They don't collect tax increment, but we still have some balances in them. And then one is active, the 700 North CDA, and then the Lindon Park CRA is going to be activated, or is activated?
It is.
Okay, so it is activated, we just haven't received revenue yet. So the 24 calendar year will be the first one, which is the 25 fiscal year for us. And do you have any questions on the RDA budget?
Maybe just a reminder on the debt service. for that
So,
property
yep,
purchase out
so
there.
the city and RDA together purchased property in the 700 North CDA. And so the money for the debt service will be coming from both the general fund and from the CDA as much as the CDA can afford. And we'll be paying that back over 5-10 years, unless
There's some other
yeah.
development. Okay, very good. Any other questions about the RDA budgets?
No.
And then just as a reminder or new info, the RDA technically is a separate entity. The state treats it as a separate entity, and so you all sit as board members on that redevelopment agency, and the agency contracts with the city in a little bit more formal way than our enterprise funds do. There's an official agreement here that's included with this resolution, and a dollar amount of $26,180 that the RDA would be paying the city for its receipt of services from the city. So So that's this Exhibit A that's included as part of the resolution. And then as part of the budget ordinance that you just adopted, it also references this exhibit that the city's agreeing to this deal with the RDA. So this is something we do every year.
I'm good with that, as long as it doesn't mean I have to go to the training twice, because we're a separate entity.
No, I think you're
Just
covered.
occurred to me as you said, you're a separate entity.
Whose time does that mostly account for? Kristen?
Yeah,
Mike's.
Kristen's, mine, Mike's, Florence is probably the big one, yeah, city attorney.
But Mike would be the biggest.
Yeah, primarily economic development would be the big one.
Nice.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we'll open for any comment or question to the public. All right.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Stewart to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, back to you, council, or board, excuse me, back to you, RDA Board of Directors, regarding this adoption of the budget for the RDA and CDA inside of it.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-05-RDA.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Stewart, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that concludes the business of the RDA, so I would,
I make a motion to adjourn the Lindon City RDA meeting and reconvene the Lindon City Council meeting.
motion by Councilmember Broderick, do we have- seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. All in favor to reconvene?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And then for the very important thing to do next, motion to adjourn.
okay, motion to adjourn by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Stewart. All in favor?
Aye.
Good job, everyone, tonight. I do have one thing to show you all. This is not necessarily official business, but for our Lindon Days and for our centennial year, I wanted to get you all, maybe elected officials, a special shirt. So a lot of times, when I look at other city councils or what we currently have, we have like a solid white or solid blue. It still doesn't really say who we are. It's not that different from like a polo that you see a business person wear golfing or whatever. So looking at our colors, I found this shirt. I wanted to see what you think.
Oh.
This is a Travis Matthew, very, very, very nice brand. So take a look at this.
That's cool.
What do you think? I don't know if it's wild or you think you'd like it.
Thank you.
wouldn't call that pink though, would you?
Well, it's salmon, kind of red.
So, yeah, we could do the lettering, do something with Centennial, yeah, like the navy, or white would really pop if you want your title to pop.
My vote is whatever Carol.
I would go with the
You guys
color.
can vote how you want.
Okay,
That's lovely. Thanks for
because
the
some of you
letter.
need shirts for
color
Lindon
or
Days.
white, but I'd like to see it in white.
Okay, so currently we have, from the old council, we have like a blue, like a wave blue, citron blue, and then we have a white, and I know you guys that are new, so I was gonna ask Van and Jake, I think the white shirt is older than the blue shirt. Which one is in the best shape to keep? We usually keep 2 shirts for Lindon Days to go through the heat. Both are in pristine, you don't wear them enough?
Daryl and I will be passed his down to me, but they're extra large, and I put them on.
Should've given him a call there.
A little better.
Okay, so, anyway, would you prefer, so those, you don't, well, do you need new shirts then? Are they too big?
Can I turn this off yet? So- Oh, thanks. I don't want to lose that. Yeah.
We're never gonna get there.
Yes, we are.
Cheers.